Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Trek YT here, Nick, back with the final episode of Minecraft Base Showcase. So what I mean by the final episode of Minecraft Base Showcase, guys, is I want to tour the world of all of the base showcases that I still have access to, and then give out that download at the end of the video. And I just want to go through and tour all of the bases that I have built over the last couple of years and kind of just cap off that series. So jumping right into it, this is the first base that started pretty much the entire series, and this was back when I was playing on a faction server called Just PvP, and I built a 32 by 32, I guess, wilderness themed base with a bunch of protected chests. And it was pretty amazing for one of my first base showcases that I ended up doing. Now, looking at our second episode that we ever made, I actually ended up using this exact base within my own faction base back when I played Minecraft Factions. And what I really like about this base is the way that I divided up the space and kind of made it feel like it had rooms in a way, even though I'm pretty sure it was like a 48 by 48 base, but it had this little middle section where you could spawn in that had a bunch of drop chests, and then it kind of just flowed really nice with all of the separate rooms and all of the organic but also symmetrical detailing that I did inside this base. Now, this was our third episode. It was like my first crack at making a vault, or a single player vault, which had protected chests in it, so you would be able to claim it if you wanted to. And what I really like about this is more or less the color palette. We had some really nice dark wood in here with all of the grays of the stone, and then we contrasted that with the really nice cool color palette of this glass right here. Very, I guess, unique and different than a lot of people's color palettes, and I thought it worked really well in here with the repeating design. And that's pretty much it for the third episode. So this is our fourth episode, and it was my first crack at putting a spawner or a grinder within the base. You had this really nice spawning area with a bunch of unique drop chests on the side, and then straight ahead you had the ability to put in like a grinder up above and have this be the kill area right here. And we had a nice little level change with a pretty much a fake balcony up here, and then we had all of our protected chests on this side. And what I really liked about this is the, I guess, level change and the random detail that I added, such as, again, the fake balcony up here that really has no use, but I think it just looks kind of cool and really brings in the building aspect into building faction bases. And this is episode 6, and this one was absolutely massive and took me freaking forever because it wasn't just a small little one room storage room. It was like pretty much a full entire base, and it was all organic. There was no symmetry involved. It was just all organic, and I absolutely love it. This is probably of my favorite base showcases that I ever made. We had some random drop chests down here with some really unique protected chests here, kind of playing into the whole cave theme down here, with so much detail everywhere in this entire base. Like over here, we've got ourselves an automatic cow killer right here. We have this really nice cave-like walkway up here to a bunch of massive grinders, and you can see there is an Optic Gaming logo on the wall. And this is back when Pizza Hut was doing his, I guess, faction series with Optic Hex, or I believe Optic Nadeshot, and I built this base for them, which they never ended up using, but it was still a good driving force for me to build such a massive and such unique faction base. And it's literally probably of my favorite faction bases, probably like 1 or 2, to be honest with you. And this was our 7th episode of Base Showcase, and this one was really crazy because when I was doing these base showcases, I was always trying to figure out how can I make it even cooler than the last one, or how can I make it even more different than the last one. In this one, we kind of themed it of like a ski lodge almost in a way. We really were focusing on doing different block palettes in every single one of these, and then doing different builds on the inside. So there isn't a ton of storage in here. There's a little storage over here. There's a little bit of storage over here, but really the whole premise of this specific build was just the actual build. It wasn't anything to do really with factions. It was just kind of condensed inside like a 64 by 64 space. And that's what I really liked about it, is I focused mainly on the build in this one and less on the idea that it was a faction base. And I do enjoy this one quite a lot. Now, this was episode number 14 of Base Showcase. We skipped over a couple episodes, and what I like about this episode was the idea that I was really starting to get into texturizing. You kind of almost see my progression in my building techniques, and I really focused on really texturizing all the walls by using different shades of different blocks. So we really had a bunch of gray here, but we mixed up all of the textures by using like cobblestone versus stone versus andesite. And this base wasn't too crazy from a build standpoint, but just the idea that I started to texture a lot of my stuff was something that I really liked in this base. And this is episode number 15. This was one of my first episodes that really popped off in a way. It did super well, and it was one of the first ones that I felt that I did an amazing job on. Like, I know in episode like 6 I did an amazing job, but this one was just such a small base. It was a 32 by 32 base that I made sure to utilize almost every single last little space in the base, and that's why I loved this one. Like, it was so organic and I made everything flow together so well. We had some protected chest over here, we had a little alcove over here for potions, and then we had a nice little enchanting table right here. We had a really nice organic staircase filling in some chests along the way, and made this really nice staircase that went up over this way. We had a balcony up here that would lead to down below as well, and we had more protected chests right here, and then you come back this way and we had almost like the back vault of the base that had all of the really cool stuff back here. And we even were able to connect all these spaces with little windows and little doors, which is another thing that I really liked about this base. And if you didn't notice, we even snuck in ourselves a little grinder right here that you could use, and I think I was using blazes for this one because I had a really cool blaze picture up here, but this is on my own personal world. It wasn't where I originally built it, so that blaze picture does not show up. This was episode number 17 of Base Showcase, and what I really liked about this one was it was kind of tiny, but we were able to cram a bunch of stuff in here and make it feel a lot larger than it was. And why we did that, or how we did that, was by adding vaulted ceilings and by basically just taking up space that wasn't really needed to be taken up, but we focused on the build more than we focused on the faction base itself. So we were able to make this really cool grand feeling inside this base, even though again it wasn't that big. We really utilized every single inch and every single last block with different things in the base. Such as we had a bunch of drop chests over here and over there. We had protected chests on this side. We were able to fit in a little enchanting table right here. And then on the other side, which was actually symmetrical other than the fact that we were able to fit in a little grinder right here. But pretty much this was a symmetrical, very tiny base that we made feel a lot bigger. This was episode number 18. I want to say this is a 16 by 16 faction base, and we really tried to use as much of the space as possible for the faction base while also working in details of a really nice build and a really unique color palette to boot. This was kind of my period in Base Showcase where I started to make all the bases a lot smaller and a little more achievable, because a lot of my bases were massive in the start. They were like 48 by 48, 64 by 64, and I was like, well, most people aren't going to claim bases that big, so this is a 16 by 16 base that I created, so that way those that have smaller factions could use this and then have a base that they could actually defend and not have to use as much claim power as the larger ones would. And when you get down on the smaller side of things like 16 by 16, you're really not going to divide up the base as much, I guess, horizontally. You're not going to make a bunch of different rooms. You're going to have to start dividing it up vertically, like how I did here. I made a nice little balcony to kind of divide up the room by all keeping it one room, but we made it 2 different spaces within this one room. This is episode number 18, and it was actually a base that I built for Otekers, the YouTuber who makes faction related videos. And this one was actually my first video that a YouTuber that I built for commented on. He was actually one of the first people to comment on the base, and I didn't even tweet it at him or anything. He just found it on his own, which was really cool for me back in the day. So it wasn't a huge base because it was supposed to be an unclaimed vault, so we really didn't put too much into it. We had all unprotected chests, so that way we could try to avoid being caught by X-rayers. We had more unprotected chests over here, and then we had a very tiny little grinder over here that you could actually go down this ladder right here and get to the collection area that was down here, which again, also not very large because it was mainly meant for like IGs on a really small level, which I think it was really cool that we were able to fit all of this stuff into such a tiny base. And then to have Otekers, the person I was trying to get to see it, actually see the base, it was just really, really cool back in the day. This was actually another small vault. This was episode number 23. I kind of got on this little kick of making bases that were for people that weren't going to claim them. So it was all made out of, I think these are dispensers, so that way X-rayers just could not see them at all on their X-ray. And it was super, super tiny with just the smallest amount of stuff. We did actually end up adding chests in here as well, and ourselves a little auto brewer right here that you could customize and kind of turn into different things. So if you wanted to brew different types of potions, there was a way to actually do that. I have no idea how this machine works, to be honest with you. I did at some point when I was building it, but nowadays I could not tell you what this thing does at all. And it was such a tiny little base that we wanted to make it feel a little bit bigger, so we added in unnecessary vaulted ceilings in here that really lead to nothing and don't really contribute at all, but they just make it feel a little bit bigger. And that was something that I was really focusing on, was having these bases feel larger than life in a way. So we added in a lot of vaulted ceilings to really add extra space and make these bases feel a lot more grand. So this is episode number 24, and it was one of my first times building pretty much a full base in a way. So this is the very bottom of the base. I believe it was a 16 by 16 base to boot as well. So this is actually the collection area for one of our spawners. It could have been really whatever you wanted. If we were to ascend upward, you'd be able to see that this is where you could put in some spawners, and this was the drop area. And then if we were to ascend once more and then actually go through this wall right here, we would get to the main storage area at the very top. And because it was a 16 by 16 base, it wasn't that big at all. You had these tiny little rooms that made up your base, and this was pretty much where you would put all of your drop chests, and then this is where you would have your super OP gear that you didn't want anyone to get. And we attempted to make it as, I guess, anti-cannon and anti-raid proof as possible. This is probably an outdated design, or it never worked to begin with, but it was my attempt at making protected chests in Minecraft. This is episode number 25. We actually made 3 tiny little vaults. This is one of the 3 tiny little vaults in. It wasn't anything crazy. It was supposed to be a vault that you would not claim. It was supposed to be something kind of secret in. This one was a little tiny cave that we tried to add as much depth as possible. So we had this little area that just went up randomly up here and kind of made the base feel, again, a little larger than life. A bunch of chests. And then in the next one, this one was actually super, super tiny. So we made sure we added some vaulted ceilings to really give it that feel of being kind of bigger than it really was. Because I mean, this area where I'm standing is pretty much 4 by 6. Like, that's so tiny. That's 24 blocks with just chests surrounding us to put all of our loot in. So we had to add in this little area up here to kind of make it feel a little bit bigger, because if this was a closed off roof, I would feel dwarfed inside of this vault. And then still on episode number 25, we had the last little vault that we built, and we tried to fill in as much stuff as we could in here. So we put in some drop chest right here, kind of gave it that feel of being like a little oasis in a way. We had a little waterfall in here, we had a tree inside of our vault, and a little, I guess, tree house inside of our vault that had a couple more drop chests inside of it. So it was something a little bit more unique, something that probably most people wouldn't actually do, because if they were building a vault, they wouldn't want people to find it, and they aren't really worried about what it looks like on the inside. But I didn't care. That's why I did it, to be honest with you. This is episode number 26, and what I went for this one was a pretty, I guess, repeating design, pretty symmetrical design, but I wanted all of the roofs to feel organic in a way, even though if you look at them, they are a repeated, rotated design. So it looks organic, but it's really not. But I just wanted to maximize the amount of storage inside of this base. So it's just an absolute immense amount of, I guess, protected chests with a really nice spawner right in the center of the base. This is, in my opinion, what I would think of as a pretty basic Minecraft base, not including all the details I put into the build, but when it comes to building faction bases, I think this is more or less the setup that most people go for. They put chests on the outside and they put a spawner right in the middle. This is episode number 26, my best base ever, I guess, if you consider the views that it got. So this is a 16 by 16 faction base, and I actually ended up building the entire base for people. So we had this little area down here that was more or less just for decoration, and then we had more or less, I guess, one of the main drop chest areas up here with a glass floor, so that way we could see the really nice oasis that's down below. And all of these chests actually go to the spawner up above, so they aren't really drop chests, they are chests for a collection system for the spawner that if we were to ascend, you can see up here. And it was supposed to be an iron golem spawner. You could have really used it for anything, but I set it up to be an IG farm, and if you were to go up one more level, you would get to the most protected chest area in this entire base. Now, I, again, don't know if this is the most efficient or the best way to protect chests in Minecraft factions, but this is what I came up with, and hopefully a lot of people used it and it worked for them. This was episode number 28, and it was actually a base that I designed for Preston Plays for his faction series. And what I really like about this base is just the changing of levels and the really, I guess, openness of the base that I had here. So we had nice protected chests on this side and on that side, and then we had this almost, I guess, I keep saying the word oasis, but like this really nice overgrown feel, but not too intense of an overgrown feel. You can tell that this more or less looks like a base that was built into a pre-existing cave, because you got the bedrock little pools on the side over here, and then you've got kind of the, I guess, cave-like stuff on the side over here. So I really like this base. I felt that it looked really cool from pretty much any angle. And then you had your really nice protected chest over here, and then just random details everywhere with a really unique color palette, kind of mixing in that acacia with the really dark oak wood. I think it looks really cool, and I think this base was one of my, I guess, more favorite bases that I ever created. This is episode number 29 of Base Showcase. It was another tiny little vault that was supposed to be unclaimed, so we used dispensers for the chest in this case, and since it was so tiny, we kind of made it organic to make it feel a lot cooler. So the shape of the base is not symmetrical in any way at all. It's just kind of all over the place, which makes it end up looking really cool. And we kind of tried to mix in all of the necessities. So we got ourselves a little brewing stand over here. We got some anvils over on this side, and then we got ourselves an enchanting table right here. And that's pretty much all that you need in a tiny little vault such as this base. And this is, last but not least, episode number 30 of Base Showcase. And to be honest with you, this is one of my more favorite bases that I ever created, just because of everything that it encompasses. From the block palette to the symmetry to the organics to just the build in general, I really did enjoy this base and how it came out. So this is the very bottom of the base. We had some protected chests on either side, which is where the symmetry comes in, and then we had a really nice organic little stairway on the side up here. I really wanted to make it so in this base specifically, you did not have to set more than one home, so everything kind of flowed together. And then you came up here and you had some enchanting tables here, and then on the other side you also had another enchanting table, and really trying to keep that aspect of flowing together. We really tried to make everything, again, flow together. So I could have just made this a blank wall and not had this really nice see-through catwalk in the middle, but instead I opened up the sides right here, kind of got creative, made a little area where you can run and jump across to get to some protected chests on either side. And I really like that I'm keeping the flow in the base, and that's why I really enjoyed this base. And then on the side up here you have another staircase. This one's a little more symmetrical than the other one down below, and then we kind of tried to fit in, again, things in every little single nook and cranny of the base. So we had some, I guess, random drop chest here. We had ourselves a spawner on either side over there. So this side could be like skeletons and that side could be blazes over there. And then we had some more random drop chests here and there. And then we had anvils all around the entire base, which double as, I guess, aesthetics, and they double for function because you can actually use those anvils. And that was pretty much all of the base showcases that I still have access to in a single player world that I have created. Now I just wanted to kind of cap it off and recap all of the base showcases that I have, and I thought that it would be really cool to be able to give out this world download, not a schematic file but a world download, so that way everyone that wants to see these bases, for those that can't use Schematica such on, I guess, Bedrock Minecraft, they have access to this world, so that way they can implement these bases into their own Minecraft world. So I hope you guys did enjoy today's video, and I hope you guys enjoyed the base showcase series. I think that I never really made, I guess, a final episode, and I felt like I really needed to. I really needed to kind of bring this series to a closing end, and I thought this was probably the best way to do it, is just by recapping everything that we did in the series. So again, guys, I hope you did enjoy today's video. If you guys did, make sure to show your support down below and let me know what was your favorite base showcase episode that I ever did, because I would love to hear from you guys about that. And I think that it was just one of those things that I really liked about base showcase, was the idea of trying to force myself to be creative and come up with a new idea every single episode. And it really forced me to become a better builder because I was trying to outdo myself every single episode. So I hope you guys enjoyed the series. I'm sorry for those of you guys that are kind of going to be upset that the series is coming to an end. I mean, I really haven't made a new episode in a very, very long time, but this is the final episode. I hope you guys enjoyed the series. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. But as always, guys, I love you all. See you guys next time. Peace out.